Jeff, welcome. Thank you so much. Berlin, Indiana, and we've got Tim sitting in Melbourne who hasn't been asleep since we talked to her last night. Poor Tim. And just before we start, I've got a little surprise for you. Someone's come to say hi.
Hi there, Janet. I just was in the building. I heard about this, so I thought I'd come and just say hello and wonder if you survived the summer in Bertinoro and everything's okay.
Oh yeah, just barely, as you know.
You all get on to the interview, but we'll be in touch and hope everything is well with you and look forward to seeing you.
Your hair looks great.
Your hair looks great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, not a hair out of place, you know. Hair today, gone tomorrow, as they say.
Stefan and Jeff hung out this summer at the, well, Jeff, you didn't hang out for very long, did you? Because you weren't there for very long, at the Italian Brass Week with Luca Benucci and loads of other
short but intensive time.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
He just wanted to come say hi.
Okay.
He's been rehearsing all day, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want anyone to ask him any questions while we got him?
We're going to get him on by himself. He deserves a whole slot to himself. So we're going to start with you now.
Okay. Take care, Jeff, and enjoy the interview, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stefan. See you tomorrow. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So that was a real treat. My beloved colleague Stefan Yutsielski coming in to say hi to Jeff. You guys go a long way back, huh?
Yeah. He's awesome.
Are you going to tell the viewers how you're doing today?
Well, sure. I have a little bit of a stomachache.
That's actually an understatement. You feel like crap. Oh, I shouldn't say crap. My mother's watching.
No, especially twice.
So everyone is watching. Hello from Rome. Hello from Nashville. Oh no, Howard's having trouble in Nashville. Refresh, Howard. Then you should be able to watch. Got a lot of people online, and people are from Paris. Some ways, I tell you, they're all over the place. Your fans.
Awesome.
Jeff,
Your fans too.
You're at home right now because you're not feeling so great. I'm sorry, but you're feeling great enough to talk to us.
Yeah.
You may look like a teddy bear, but I am so fascinated by this fearless stuff you've been doing. I got your newsletter. You sent me your newsletter, and it's just, for me, whenever I do a masterclass, people will always want to know, how do we stop being scared on stage? And we don't. Hang on, there's a bit too much light in here. I'm sorry about the light, you guys. It looks a little bit ethereal here. Oh, there we go. That's good. Keep standing there. Jakob is here filming again, so that's good. Just stay there till the sun goes down. Everybody always wants to know, how do you deal with nerves on stage? Now, I haven't got quite a good answer as you do. You really seem to have sussed it out.
Yeah, I've tried. I mean, I've tried to figure out some structure and put some structure to it so that we can work through it, and that hopefully can help us free us up a bit to then create and be creative on top of all these techniques and insecurities and the things that get in the way, So the two first steps for me, and when I lecture, I first start by proving to everybody that everybody fears, and just by telling my stories of fear. I mean, I came from a place of huge fears. Even through high school, there was a hallway in high school that I wouldn't walk down. Those were the cool kids,
What were you afraid of?
I don't know. It's pretty illogical. Not being cool enough, not being liked, not being funny, wanting to be liked. It's a control issue. Maybe it's a lot of fear is a lack of control, right? So I want to.
When I was at college, I used to think that you were only liked as well as you played.
Right. Yeah, you are what you do.
And it goes into your life. I think you sort of worry that you're only going to be as liked as good as you play, and if you're playing bad or you're having a crisis, then you're not really worth being liked, right. And that made me scared.
And that starts early, when you're celebrated for doing something, and at some point when it doesn't go well, when you're celebrated, the dangerous thought is that you are what you do, and that's not going to.
Aren't we what we do?
No, that's the mistake, because then as soon as we miss a note, we're a bad person, and that's terrifying. We're too much on the line if your self-worth is wrapped up in what you're doing. So for me, that was one of the great things too. I quit horn for 3 years in high school and after high school. So when I came back to it, I played really badly, but I didn't feel bad about it. So I learned faster than others because I'd play what I couldn't play, just sat in that room and sounded like crap. You know, but yeah.
Mother's watching.
So I'm sorry, Sarah's mother.
That's
Apologies.
all right. Still live.
Yeah, and then, you know, the two things Freud has taught me too, you know, in her book of thoughts on playing the horn well, she says when you put the horn down, play something you can play well every time you play. Just even C major scale, 1 octave ascending, like, okay, I can play, you know, and walk away from it. That way you'll have a good life away from the horn. And then when you come back to it, you won't be like, come here, I'll beat you this time. You know, it's not a battle. It's and you can come back to it with a little more optimism. And that adds up over days.
It's so good what you're saying, because so many of us, I think probably all of us, have had this sort of love-hate relationship with our horns. Our horn is our best friend, but it can also be our worst enemy. It shouldn't be, should it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's a choice too, you know. Oh, like how much control do you want? If you want control, don't play horn. You know, you're playing the wrong instrument. I say as a joke, I joke sometimes and say, if you want to get all the notes, play bassoon. But that's respectfully.
We have all the bassoon players of the world.
That's a dig at my older sister. She plays in the Boston Symphony, bassoon. Yeah. One of my sisters, and she married Dave Ohanian. Do you remember that?
Of course, Dave was your predecessor in Canadian brass.
Right. Yeah. So I got to give her some grief every so often, you know.
Yeah. Well, she knows all about horn players, so I guess.
You're right. Yeah.
I guess she can take it.
Yeah. Same with flute. My other sister Lisa too. So anyway, I'll stop.
And your parents were opera singers, if I did my research. So you grew up musically. So where did this fear? Actually, opera singers seem to be the most self-confident of the lot. So where did actually this is not true?
Nope. No way.
Okay.
But they seem so because they look into the performance aspect more than anybody. Instrumentalists sit in the orchestra, sit in the back of the orchestra, and we're not used to being the show visually.
Yeah.
Singers up front. I adjudicated the national competition.
Yes, a bassoon player has just said a bassoon player is watching, so sorry about that. SF.
Were there some swear words on? Sorry, just kidding.
No.
I forgot this. We can edit that out of the live broadcast. Yeah. And wait, just to cover that, like every instrument, like also trumpet is easier than French horn in some ways because the notes are further apart, right? Like they're an octave, the notes are further apart, but because of that, they wrote harder music for the trumpet. So at our level, it evens out in the end. So respect to all instruments in case that was unclear. You know, in bassoon, I know the things you guys have to do. Yeah.
You tell me about your parents and opera stars. How they really learn how to present themselves.
That's in the culture of singing because they sing recitals and they sing songs and they stand up front and they look at it a lot. I was adjudicating the Canadian national competition last year. And I was adjudicating brass and then singers. The brass players came out, and one of the brass players kind of came out and looked around the stage and kind of, hey, like no bow, and then emptied the instrument, and then went, and I kind of turned to my colleague, the singing adjudicator, and I was just, sorry, you know. And then the singers came out, and it was the curtsy and the big bow, the other direction, but. So it's just in the culture to connect, you know, even more. But they're no way they're as scared as anyone. They just have more techniques to look calm. And this is my big thing with fearless performance. That fearless performance is not the lack of fear. It is the choice that there are things more important than fear.
So when you're on stage and you're scared, I assume you don't get scared that often these days. But we all, tell us the truth.
Every time. Every time. I get scared every single time.
I'm so relieved to know that.
Yeah. That, like everybody fears. That's again my sister, the bassoonist. She said, you know, my family once shared, you know, share what's the best lesson we gave each other. And my one sister said to me that it was the time she said that I was scared on stage. That everybody fears. It's so useful to know that.
What do we fear? What do you fear? I'll tell you what I fear if you tell me what you fear.
Okay.
But no one's listening. It's just the two of us. We've only got.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how many people are online. Lots.
We could go back and forth for hours on the potential fears. But the good thing is, regardless of how many fears we have, we only need one solution to it. Because fear is the common thing, you know. But fearing control, fearing missing a note, fearing people feeling badly, fear of loss, fear of not winning. You know, some people, there's a thing linked to fear of success, but that's, I think, because you have to keep succeeding. You know, what happens if I play my absolute best? Then, you know. Yeah, but fear is. I've heard a really great acronym for fear. That it's false evidence appearing real.
Your wife's on the chat.
Hi, honey. Hi, how are you?
She said, you've come a long way, baby.
Yeah.
Hi, Lisa.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but it's just so fascinating to see all these people. You know, they're all writing in, and you'll get to have a look at it later. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can't see the chat.
We'll get to some questions later, I promise you guys, but this is just too fascinating for me. I'm not going to let go of it. I want you to keep talking about it.
So the acronym FEAR...
sister, it's your sister. I'm sorry, it's not Nina, it's Lisa.
Hi, Lisa! My flute-playing sister in England.
Sorry, Nina. Hi, Lisa.
She taught me a lot through, again, replacing fear and what she was out performing everywhere. I never saw how she could do it and get out there and do it, and she just did it, and still, it's amazing. So that's, to take this all to the very end, and then maybe work backwards, it's all culminated? I'm stuck on a word. Culminating. It culminates on my magic line method, which is, there's a magic line between backstage and on stage. And every time you enter into any performance situation, you cross a magic line. And there's great rules backstage, you know, that serve us well, and then right at the line, and then when you cross the line and you're on stage. And
what rules? Tell me your rules.
And I have a 2-page sheet maybe I can give you to post on your website and on my website explaining how to do a magic line performance. And you do these magic lines.
People can sign up for your Fearless newsletter, can't they?
Sure. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, go to my website, me.com, Nelsen, Jeff Nelsen. And yeah, I'll put that in the next newsletter. I'll send one out soon.
That's great. We're happy to post that as well. And so what are your rules?
Yeah, the goal, the goal for why you do it is, and I'm always about why first for exercises, when you're doing your routine, when you're doing anything, why are you doing it first? And it's so that you learn through experience. You're the only one who does what you do to yourself to fear. No one can make you scared. One of my favorite sayings is, no one can make me feel anything without my consent. And that's a really big one. That's Eleanor Roosevelt. I thought it was my mom, but then I learned it was.
It's about the same thing. So do you have a mantra or something you sit there and talk to yourself before you go out on stage? Because you played some really fearsome stuff. Sorry, I should say fearless, but actually the stuff you played in Canadian brass, God.
Really? Uh-oh. I didn't know. I didn't think about it. So I was
good. Good.
Yeah, I just think don't miss, don't miss, don't miss.
Yeah. No, right.
Yeah, there's lots of things, but I'll get back to you. I mean, so the rules, you were asking about the rules. Yeah. Backstage, and you just get into a habit, doing a magic line performance takes 1 minute. We do it every morning in routine class. Everyone takes turns. You get up to the line and go through, you're building your own habits. So you empty your horn, so you don't empty when you walk out there. And then you look at an inspirational sheet that you've made for yourself. And mine has sayings on it like, they want you to play well. You know, imagine thinking that right before you walk out on stage. It feels good now when we hear it. Oh yeah, they do. You know, that's why they bang their hands together. You know, But right before you walk out on stage, talk to yourself. They want you to play well. Make the most music. Don't ask. Tell. Tell them what you think. You are anyway. So tell them how much great music is out there and connect to the audience. It's all about, when I did my TED Talk, which I was ironically very scared during. You can watch my mouth prior.
The TEDx talk, it's absolutely fantastic. I think some people have been talking about it on the chat as well, saying that they should definitely check that one out. I was blown away, and I just thought, how on earth did you even manage to get a note out of your horn? You just blow through your horn, get Siegfried's horn call out there.
Right. Yeah, well, and I was dealing with a clicker, and I had all these other things I had to do, like it was, and all these different, and the magic, of course, you know, ta-da!
Oh, how do you do that?
It's magic.
We'll get onto that in a minute. I'm still on the fearless part.
Right.
Everyone's watching is going to be like, yeah, okay. So we say we're going to play well. Everyone wants you to play well. What do we do when we go out on stage? Our mouth goes dry, our heart starts pounding, our knees start shaking. What do we do then?
Okay, well, for me, specifically to each thing, for me, my thing is my mouth goes dry, as you see in the TED Talk.
Sorry?
Bite
your tongue? What do you do?
I've done that, but my adrenaline was too high, and I bit the crap out of my tongue. So no, I recommend not doing that. That's a quick learn. You learn that quickly. It only takes once. For me, I take the biggest breath possible. If I ever start wondering, gee, Jeff, is your mouth going dry? And then sometimes I even cut a phrase off early and just like that, because the really fun spiral into hell is trying to sneak a breath in so that you don't make your mouth drier. Like you start sipping air because that makes your mouth dry, but then you play worse and you lose your breath and you're dead. So for me, just if you ever wonder if your mouth is dry, take the deepest breath possible, and you'll find you will play better for sure. Because by the time your mouth is dry, you're pretty far down the fear path, and you're not breathing well already. So there's a double solution there, right? You play better because you start breathing again, and you make it about your breathing instead.
Yeah.
One of the big lessons, all of these things, each person has to learn for themselves through the experience of doing these Magic Line performances. You can do them 10 times a day, 100 times a day, and be creative. We're out there to be musicians anyway. We're so worried about what people think about us. Get over that and share and get great music and make the music great and make it a story and make it about going out to an audience instead. And it's about getting over yourself. And I write it in my music. I write little happy faces every 4 bars. My Paganini, the first time I did Paganini, there were little happy faces on every other line and in different colors. After a while, they'd stop working.
Most people write a skull and crossbones above the difficult.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But of course, we've got to have the technician going too. I have a little sheet. Can I show you? I think I sent it to you, but we can post it. Yep. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but.
The performer's focus, choice, purpose, why, my storyteller, product, what, my musician, process, how, my technician. Fearless performance. So this is part of your seminar that you do on this, or the course, or it's an online course. So tell us how we can get hold of this.
My website's going to be very different very soon. So my first thing that I'm going to build is an online course for it.
Yeah.
So I'll be sending you guys emails on that. If you sign up at my site, you'll keep track of all that. And then I'm doing a few seminars. One is January 4th to 6th here in Bloomington for high school students that are going to be doing college auditions. So just on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then my Fearless Performance for Musicians seminar is May 29th to June 3rd. And you come here and we take you through making the sheets. And
the wonderful thing about your TEDx thing, I just loved it at the end when you had your picture of your baby, Reese, with a little horn, and you said, Reese is the most fearless person you know. And it's true, we're born like that. We're born fearless. You see pictures of babies being thrown into swimming pools and swimming just because they don't know they have to be scared and stuff like that. Don't try this at home. Or don't give your baby a horn. But it's really, what happens if you do, I know this from college, I learned how to be scared. I have this program, I still see it, I remember it so well. I was at college, I was trying to play something, and there were some people laughing in the front row, and I got shaky knees. And I thought they were laughing at me. They may not have been laughing at me, they may have been laughing about something totally different, but for me that was a really traumatic moment, and it sort of taught me that I could get scared. How do you help people to erase these feelings of panic? Because once they're in, they're hard to get rid of.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a massive difference between something being simple and something being easy. So I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible, and then it's about how much do you want it? How much do you want to make these really hard choices that get easier as you see 0.0001% improvement with your performer. So the storyteller. This sheet here is no small thing. It's we all look at process. And our technician, we all want, but we look at that, but a lot of us only want to show how good our technician is. We walk out of there and worry about the hows and do that. A lot of my students come in and they want to show me how they've improved their technician this week. So then product, nothing happens without it. It's on the list. I have one of my favorite sayings I got from my mom in an email was, the last thing I want to do is hurt you, but it's still on my list. So, the last thing I want to do is hurt you. But it's still on my list. It's the last thing, so it's the bottom of the list. It's the least important, but it's on the list. Nothing happens without process, and process is sprinkled throughout. But I think that's the lamest of the 3 choices when you're in performance, is to think about how. The next best one is product. Think about the sound you're making. And that's you're a musician. What did Mozart mean when he wrote what he wrote? What does a simple phrase sound like? What is, all of these things? To be much better to be focused on product than process. That makes sense? When we started, we were all process because we were trying to learn fingerings and all that. But we learned our fingerings. So we've transcended levels of technician. And that's my goal. I'm still transcending my technician every time I learn something. So that's a lifelong awesome thing. But so is learning what Mozart meant, right? And all of this. The best place to be focused in performance, though, when I'm just out there singing through my horn and connecting to my colleagues and connecting to an audience, is being purpose-based. Thinking about why you're out there. Are you out there to not mess up? Are you out there to win a competition, show how high and loud you can play? Or are you out there to give great music, give people a break from their day? And I make that decision 100 times a performance, sometimes 1,000. It's just over and over and over again. And that's your storyteller. Tell a story out there, and your story. It's all about story. So I think that's a massive simplification of some solutions, and then it's about finding as many ways as possible to get back there whenever we want to notice a fearful thought as soon as possible, and get on to and choose better thoughts as often as possible.
Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes I'm not thinking about I'm getting nervous, getting nervous, and I notice the symptoms before it's happened in my brain. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but that's through experience.
Today.
Yeah, but I bet today, I bet the next time you notice fear, you're going to think something a little different because you heard some of my thoughts. So it's research.
I'm signing up.
Yeah.
And if anyone's groaning and thinking, God, she's in the Berlin Philharmonic, what's she talking about? I tell you, it doesn't get any easier. It really doesn't get any easier.
That's technician and musician level. Performer at any level. That's different. Everyone. Yeah.
It gets worse when you have to pay the rent by playing this instrument.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw this out there now. If you want, do you want to come be guest faculty at my seminar in May? We can email about it. Anyway, we'll email
about it, but not online in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. Listen, I've got some questions for you. I'd really like to ask. Can you shoot with some right now? Jenny Yeh, so I assume she's someone you know, says, what was one of your favorite Fearless performances and why?
When I joined Canadian Brass, I went from fourth horn to Canadian Brass. So I went from sitting in the back of the orchestra, playing some principal in Vancouver, but mainly fourth horn. And then the next thing I knew, I was standing in front of Canadian Brass. And we did a concert in Dallas, a concert with Spokane Symphony, and then 30 concerts in Germany at one night, like a different night every night. Third night was in Krefeld, the home of German brass. So you talk about potential fearful choices, standing in front of Crespo and all the German brass guys and all the European brass people. And we played, and the third encore was Barber's Adagio. And the horn stands out front, and then the guys all turn, and it's very dramatic. And we were backstage going, what should we play? And they were like, oh, I don't know, da, 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 da. And then one of them said, Barber's Adagio. And for the first time ever in my life, I went, no, I'm on my teeth. I can't, I can't do it. And they're like, okay, great. And they just left, and they went back to the stage, and I was like, no. And they came out, and I was like flipping out. And they announced it, and
it's great to have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I walked out front and I played the first phrase, scared out of my mind, and the piece kept going, and the 5 minutes were over, and all of a sudden it was over, and it went fantastic, and it was just an unbelievable baptism of fire.
How did you
sell yourself short?
Sorry, I keep interrupting. I've just got so many questions. How did you turn it around for yourself that moment? In that moment, you went out there scared, and you thought, I can't do this. How did you turn it around?
I made it about the beauty of the music. Yeah, good question. Yeah, that I dug into what the audience is going to experience and share that with them, to them, at them, whatever works. But dug really deep, about 50 times, every other bar. And just stay out. I've had so many concerts I've wanted to run off stage. Beethoven 9 was my first performance with my first gig, Winnipeg Symphony, back in '93.
Tell me about it. I know that
one.
Right,
exactly. Woo, yeah. But the great music, So, that bar comes.
If you can get over the fact that you're just a little fourth horn player, but to realize that you're playing amazing horn writing that had never been written like that before, then it's such a privilege to play that. But it's a tough one to get over on fourth horn.
And most people. My other thing is most people in the audience. To get over the fear, it's most people in the audience are there for the last movement, but a lot of people in the audience hasn't heard that movement before. They'd only heard the last movement, so it's like wow.
The third thing is they're having a really nice sleep during it.
Oh, nice. Very good. Totally. Even the third horn player probably is definitely.
Kendall Bet says anyone who says they don't get nervous and when they play in public is either lying, an idiot, or both. Says Mason Jones. I totally agree with that. It's very true. What was your favorite? Let's see. Oh, we're doing quite a good recovery from a few. What would you? How do we? Let's get off the fear. How do we balance the horn to the other instruments in a brass quintet? That's a good question.
Yeah, just play louder than them. Just play louder.
Just play louder.
Yeah. At all times.
It's really tiring.
Yeah. Marty Hasselman, another dear friend and a former member of both Empire and Canadian Brass, he explained it as waiting in the weeds. So you can, because sometimes you're principal low brass, sometimes you're third trumpet.
Waiting in the weeds.
Waiting in the weeds for the moments. You pick your moments for the horn to come out front and wail on those moments and bring it out, and he really did. Sorry?
Waiting in the wings.
Or the weeds, like a duck hunter, like you're waiting, you're waiting for your shot. I think that's what that means.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay.
Wings, I'm not sure. Yeah. But yeah, balance. It's listen to the. I mean, there are no secondary. There are no non-important voices in chamber music. You are all massively important, and you are all leading. You sometimes may be a leading third voice. That's third important, but it's all solo voices. No one else is playing those notes, and everything has to be there. Breathe well. What Gail was saying yesterday about breathing and everything was just awesome. Yeah.
I play in the Berlin Phil Brass Ensemble. There's only one horn. There's 12 of us, and there's one horn. And the guys say to me, "We can't hear you, but you're nice decoration." It's like, thanks, guys. And right. I've often thought it'd be better to turn around and play backwards, you know, right. Just to have a chance. But in a quintet, it's easier to balance it out. You just have to play louder.
Yeah, I was kidding, but it does make sense as well. And you can sit on stage right, put your bell out that way.
Yeah. Do you? Well, Did you? You didn't sit. You stood.
For a lot of it, but when we played Toccata and Fugue, we'd sit and.
You're burping online. That's not allowed.
Could be worse,
it could be worse, you poor thing. We're just happy you're still online and you haven't left us. Whose idea were the sneakers, by the way? I always wanted to know that. In Canadian Brass, everybody always wore sneakers. Whose idea was that?
The story comes from, I don't know whose idea it was, but that they would do the ballet, tribute to the ballet in the second half, and they wore these sneakers. And they were putting them on one day, and they were like, geez, these are really, really comfortable. They had the Capicio dance shoes, or I don't know how to say it, but and people.
I don't know. We've got people watching from Italy. I'm sure they'll tell us.
But they would wear the shoes, and people thought they were sneakers. So they were like, yeah, why don't you know? And they were like, they're so comfortable. Why don't we just wear them all the time? So that's, I think, when they started doing that. Same with Just a Closer Walk. How that ended up being the first piece, and we started from the back of the hall, was that they played it as an encore one night, and then the next night they were like, geez, why can't we just pick up where we were last night, and start with that? And they were like, why don't we? Like, it's just these little moments of openness, creativity, not stuck in the systems that are there, but to be innovative and creative and create. And there was no Canadian Brass before Canadian Brass. It's just create, go for what you want, dream huge.
I played with them, but when they were here in Berlin and they did that Wagner album, do you remember?
Yeah.
And I was just a little thing, had just arrived in Berlin, and Fergus said to me, "Oh, we need another horn, come along." And I was like, oh, because it was like all the principals of the Berlin Philharmonic and Canadian Brass. And Dave Ohanian was sitting there in the midst of these unbelievable people. I was going to say egos, but that wouldn't quite be fair. But I remember was Gerd Seifert playing on that? There were a whole lot of people just playing as loud as they possibly can. I didn't hear Dave for 2 days. Yep. I didn't hear him. I thought, we were playing all this Ride of the Valkyries and everything. And he was the only one that had chops left after 2 days. He was the only one. And he came out and he played the most amazing solos in the smaller stuff. And I remember sitting there, I was like 22, and I thought, that's how to do it. I just thought it was just so clever. He was a real professional. He knew when to let the others take the load, and then he came out and had all the beautiful stuff. So listen, why sneakers? We answered that, didn't we? We answered that one. Cindy, hi Cindy. We're in why sneakers? Because they're comfortable and because they look cool, right? What are your aims for the future, Jeff? Asks Richard.
Well, I'm pretty excited about creating some online materials and an online course for Fearless Performance, I think, and going to finish the book and make it an audio course. So really to get the message out there to you guys so you can have it at home and have it make sense. And then I'm going to probably interview a bunch of people on how they do it. I'll interview you, Sarah, and find out how you replaced your fears. And you know, your fear is not getting the best of you if you're playing. What's your band called again?
Berlin Symphonic.
Yeah. So it's about.
Any tips on memorizing? Asked Chris Brigham, who was here in Berlin recently. Hi, Chris. Any tips on memorizing? Because you memorize all your stuff.
Yeah, quite a bit of it. With Canadian brass, sure. Yeah, lots of it. Well, I did a lot of memorizing on planes, and for me, it was about listening to the recording over and over and over again. Have it on in the background, so you get to a point where you sing along, and you first have your part there. I think that's a major difference between brass players and singers for memorizing, is that we have to have the right button down. We're not just playing by ear, we have to have the button down, and then learn which buttons to have down. You know, like just memorize. I memorize the fingerings a lot of times, as lame as that might be to some other approaches. And then when you try it and you do your first few performances by memory, circle the places you messed up and only memorize those. Put all your resources,
Smiley face. Don't forget the smiley.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But don't waste time playing the whole thing 20 times over, because you're wasting time memorizing things that you already have memorized. Just circle what you messed up and focus on that.
Yeah, one of my colleagues was just memorizing the Glear, and he was swearing in the horn room. He said it was awful. To memorize the Glear was just change his key every few seconds.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah.
So, Jeff, Oscar asks, what was your most memorable performance? You have one? I would find that a hard one to answer.
Yeah, there's so many. You know, there's lots of. Coincidentally, one of the most powerful ones was we did a concert right after 9/11 in America, and our encore was Barber Adagio, and it became one of the soundtracks for support of carrying the musical weight of that type of event. And we asked the audience not to clap after. So we finished it, and then the lights went out, and we walked off stage. We walked off stage in darkness, and it was and that silence was really, really powerful. Really, that still hits me.
Sorry, I am listening. We're just running out of battery here, so we're just rearranging. Sorry, guys. Modern technology. Okay, got it.
Just did a concert a few weeks ago in a theater in Nashville, Indiana. And it was, the goal was to have it a little bit more commercial, so a bit more fun music. And I played with 4 of my students, so we did some quintets and stuff. And that's one of my most powerful performances is to perform with my students and really share in that creation and how great they did. And
I want to come and meet them. I'm going to come and meet them.
They want to meet you, yeah.
I want to come and meet them. Jeff, Lewis has asked this a couple of times, so I'm just going to ask you, Jeff, should we adapt our playing according to members of the jury of a competition, or just play your way? Our way? Your way? My way? I don't quite understand that question. Maybe you do.
Well,
I think you just have to play how you are. It doesn't matter who's in the jury.
Right. I would agree to that, and I think that you figure out what your way is, but they're making decisions, so you got to listen to some recordings. Don't go off into a hut and learn your way. We learn our way through what society thinks and says is good and hireable and winning a competition. So there are rules, but within that, there's so much freedom and I demand of myself to trust every jury and every audition panel that they will pick the best player. I was the finalist for both Chicago and LA. 4th in LA and 2nd in assistant in Chicago. I was the last finalist that wasn't hired, but I had a horn that didn't suit what they play in LA. It was a Lewis, but excellence is excellence, you know, and good rhythm and all those kinds of things. Quick story on the Chicago audition. Everyone was telling me, you know, oh, you don't want to audition there. They know who they want, and they want someone from Chicago, and I was just kind of like, okay, are you finished? I got to go practice. Are you done? You know, and that's why you're not doing it. I'm going to be an idiot and go for it, you know. And in the semifinals, it was me and 8 people from Chicago. So either they were right that they wanted someone from Chicago, or I was the only idiot that went for it enough to, you know, to get in. And that just changed my playing forever, how much work I did for that audition and lessons with Dale and all those things. So go for your dreams. Huge. I'm a pig farmer from Alberta, Canada, but I didn't let my, you know, where I was in life affect where I wanted to go.
Funny, Gail grew up on a farm. She said she grew up on a dairy farm. You grew up on a pig farm. I'm a vegetarian, so I'm a bit worried. I don't really want to ask what you did with the pigs. I'm sure you patted them and fed them nicely and put them out to graze, right? And they died natural deaths.
Yeah, and then they all died of old age.
And then you ate them. I don't want to know.
No,
Jeff,
yeah.
Who are your horn heroes? Asks Nick Kenny, apart from...
Yeah, I was gonna say no joke. You yes, you're amazing.
No.
Anyone? Should we do a poll on the text of how many people have you as one of their heroes?
No, absolutely not.
You have to let this in. Are you telling me I'm lying?
No.
This is one of the steps. This is good. This reminds me of some other fearless things. Is to let compliments in. You know, instead of no, like to put like to just say okay, great. I'm glad that you think so. You know, because that's my opinion. You can't. Anyway, we'll talk about that soon.
Well, privately. I'm glad you think so. Thank you very much for the compliment.
Right.
Sweet. Jenny, you just wrote Sarah is my hero. So thank you very much. My mother's written something too. She said, oh, my mother said I spent my holidays on a dairy farm, so I can join the big horn farmers. Thanks, Mum.
Yay. The thing about farming for me is that I grew up on the farm, but my parents, opera singers, both older sisters, one on flute, one on bassoon, so music was in the house. And then we had the work ethic on the farm. So those were the two things that combined to make all 3 of us successful musicians, I think, when we grew up. Can I tell a quick story?
Yes, tell a quick story.
And this is how my dad lives on. So I had a student, and he came in and he played Strauss 1, and it was okay. You know, he got the notes, and it was great. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's good. Do you know Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy? This guy that does these funny things for Saturday Night Live. One of my favorites is, and I told him this at the time. This is Mike Lombardi, one of my students. He won't mind me telling you who it was. The saying is, I think the crow thinks of the parrot. Oh, sure, you can talk, but listen to yourself. So he was getting all the notes, but why? Why make me sit through this? You know, whatever. And so I told him this story, and it was that I was on the farm, and I had a pipe wrench, and I was trying to fix the watering system. The system that got water to all the pigs was broken. So I had a pipe wrench, and I was trying to fix the pipe and pushing, and it was stuck, and I couldn't do it. My dad walked up, and he's 6'6", this big man, and he looks down, and I was just like, I can't. And he was like, okay, let's go eat. Let's go eat. And I was like, well, what about the pigs? And he says, they'll die. Come on, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. And I was like, I grabbed the pipe wrench and I went like that, and I got it. And I looked up all proudly, and he just kind of went, and walked off. Like, yeah. So the next week, Mike Lombardi comes into his lesson, and he plays. It blew my mind. It was just like unbelievable. Wow! I just sat back, mouth open. Wow! What happened to you? Like, oh my God! That's it. That's it. You're telling a story now. Amazing. And he said, come here. And I walked over and I looked on his part to the Strauss 1, and above the top he had written, save the pigs.
I'm going to write that on the top of my Beethoven 9 part.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So how much do you want it? Like, get it done. Get in there. There's things more important than our fears and insecurities. And we each have to create those and find them for ourselves.
Jeff, it's so inspiring talking to you. I have to stop at some point because poor old Tim is sitting in Melbourne, my wonderful webmaster, and it's 20 to 2, and he's been up since 5 this morning to deal with Gail's hang. So I'm going to have to let him go quite soon. But before can I just ask something about the magic?
Things more important than sleep, Tim. There's things about
That's true.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim is doing amazing things for the horn world, really, because Tim and I are setting this up together. Tim designed the website. He's designed this whole live streaming thing. I've got Jakob here in Berlin helping me. He's been holding a camera for 40 minutes like this as well, poor guy. So there's a great team, and I'm really hoping that the people online are enjoying this, because we can repeat, we can get other people on, this is just, I just love all this modern technology. And before you go, I want to ask about the magic. Not the magic in horn playing. There's magic in horn playing. Of course, there's magic everywhere. What about your magic?
Well,
you showed us.
I showed you the
how do you do that?
It's magic. I had one too. Can I come right back? I forgot. It's in the other room.
Come right back. Let me just see. Oh, Lisa, I do apologize for thinking you were Nina. I do apologize. It's quite nerve-wracking doing all this. So, so I will never mix you two up again. Jenny A, thank you so much for doing this, Sarah and Jeff. Thanks. Well, we'll get him back. I would really like to know from all of you who you'd like me to get on, because it seems that the horn players of this world are just fantastic, and everyone I've asked up to now, we're hoping to get Barry Tuckwell on very soon. So let me know who else we can get on in front of the camera. Jeff's coming back because I just got so much to talk to him about. Hey Jeff, you're back. Show us.
Yes. And I'm going to be doing online things as well. So you're going to see, I can interview Sarah on one of my things as well. And doing this, but such an amazing community we have, the horn community. We got this is an amazing way for us to all get together. So thank you, Sarah, from all of us. Amazing that you're doing this and bringing us all together.
Thank you to Tim, especially.
Yeah, you and your team. Yeah.
Right. So.
Okay. Got a cute little card trick.
Okay. Got a card trick.
All right.
Jakob's got to see this too.
All right. I'll keep these on screen the whole time.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, there's 4 jacks in this pile.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of the 4 jacks, there's 2 red ones and there's 2 black ones, right?
Yeah.
So this is totally up to you. Do you want to keep the red ones or the black ones?
I want to keep the red ones because I'm a girl.
All right. Excellent. So we'll get rid of the spade and we'll get rid of the club. Okay. So in here we have the jack of hearts and the jack of diamonds, right?
Yeah. If you say so.
Well, you picked. Out of those 2, and trust me that they're in there. Now, out of those 2, pick which one you want to keep, and we'll get rid of the last. Hey, get back, focus.
Sorry. I'm focusing. Which one should I pick now?
Right, that's kind of up to you. So either the diamond or the heart. Which one do you want to keep? And we'll turn that one upside down.
So I'll pick the diamond.
You'll keep the diamond. Get rid of the heart.
I'm always up for a diamond.
Ready? There goes the heart. Now we'll see if we can turn the diamond upside down. Is this going to work? I have to somehow.
How'd you do that?
You did it. You picked it. The magic thing is also, just hold your plus to the end, that's from a different colored deck. Oh, and you didn't even have to bring the other 3.
Yay!
It's kind of hard to do in front of the camera and all that stuff.
That's quite impressive. How did you know I was going to pick? You knew that I like diamonds. I can only put it down to that.
Stefan told me.
So let's see what our. Okay, here we go. We've got. Oh, I've got a lot of people online with all sorts of suggestions. But eine Sekunde, dann sind wir weg. We've got people wanting to come in and use this room, so I'm going to have to say goodbye. And goodbye to all you guys online. Thank you so much for joining us. Jeff, you are just a star, and you are a magician, not only with your cards, but on the horn. And thank you for joining us, and we'll get you back on very, very soon. Okay?
Hey,
Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye.